Okay, going after use cases with your PPC strategy can get you a lot more results with your PPC campaigns, guys, with the same or even less amount of effort than doing what you typically think what you would have to do with a Google Ads or a Bing Ads campaign to actually generate a profit after all your expenses, the cost of the ads, cost of delivery of your product or service. Okay, respectively, this is more so for you guys that are beginners, or if you are actually trying PPC for a while and you just really can't get it to be worth your time after all your expenses, this can be your golden ticket to have a way to actually make it start being more profitable, given it can be 3 to 8 times more profitable than anything that you're doing right now, just with the simple tweak of what you're doing. I have examples of where we've done this very thing before on this video as far as mini case studies here, and then I'm going to tell you exactly how to do this strategy for yourself. So if you're in that category of struggling and just can't get it to work any other way for yourself, running Google search campaigns, Bing search campaigns, how you're going to get it to work, and respectively for you guys starting out to not fall into the 90% category of people who try PPC, can't get it to work and then just say it doesn't work, okay, running search campaigns. And that is a kind of a reality that most people, when they try Google Ads, has done a really good job to make somebody with zero advertising experience or knowledge or anything be able to spend money on advertising. And respectively, if you're in a market that has super high demand and you're the only one doing what you're doing, it can work with no experience. But most of competitive markets, you need to be able to have the knowledge because you're competing against people that have marketing knowledge and advertising knowledge. So, and not everybody makes money. 20% of one time of the advertisers in a market are making 80% of the money and that's why Google has set things up. They want to constantly push people to do a better job giving their users what they want quicker so that people are competing to get, and therefore building a better overall experience for their users when people click on ads. And so they don't want everybody making money. They want the top making money and they want everybody, gunning for the top. And so when the average person starts out, they spend 15 minutes setting up their ad account, they run it, they say it doesn't work, they're done. And then 10% say to themselves, it's got to work because I know everybody can't be losing money here. I'm going to try to figure this out no matter what it takes. And then those are the people that go on to succeed. They find channels like this, so on and so forth. So it's all about how you do it, and it's not a matter of if it will work, it's just a matter of when. As long as you understand the core concepts that the people that are making it work are doing. And with all that said, it can be a process to get your PPC campaigns to work, but there are shortcuts. What I'm sharing with you in this video is a definite shortcut and takes a little bit of outside the box thinking, but not a whole lot. I'm going to tell you how to come up with a shortcut for your own campaigns to get abnormally high returns that nobody else starting out is going to get because they're not going to be thinking the same way as you. And this may be your whole pivot to getting a campaign profitable in the first place for your company. So anyway, with all that said, I'll get into it. Most of the time when people start out their PPC, setting up PPC campaigns, their journey or whatever, they go after the most difficult things first. If they're a florist, they'll go after things like Chicago florist or buy flowers Chicago, whatever, as an example. Now, the obvious reason why they're doing that, because like I said, the average person is spending 15 minutes to set up their account. That's not enough because you're competing against people who spent hundreds of hours on their account, and only so many people make money. There's like 20 people at any given time in a market like that in and out of the top 4 spots, and Google's trying to place the person who serves their users the best in front of the best people the most. So you got to be thinking about, how do I serve the market better than anybody else with my ads to get them what they're wanting quicker and easier and better if you're going to make money. But they'll go head to head with these top PPC experts, if you will, because your competitors hire guys like me to go in there and try to help out. regardless of, a lot of times people aren't very good, but just in general, people that a lot of times they'll have some people in your market that have people who all they do is PPC. So, and then they'll go head first into their market, trying to get Google ads to work or Bing ads to work, going and competing directly against them. It's not a fair fight. You, however, can get around that by thinking outside the box. Like I said, you were going to be able to do, and I was going to get to on this particular video, that you don't have to go head to head with them anymore. And even if there are experts out there, very few people that you hire, if you don't know, they do the bare minimum. Maybe you can expect it or do expect it. They do the bare minimum for you. They're not going to think outside the box. They're going to go after the same high volume stuff because it's going to take the least amount of work on their end to deliver you a campaign that gets some sales, spends the amount of money you want to spend. So if you are new, though, you need all the help you can get to get around going and competing after customers that everybody else is competing after, those main keywords in your market. If you spend a little bit more time before you start actually spending, which it's so tempting, it's like, ooh, I can get customers instantly. A Google Ads account takes 10 minutes to sign up, ooh, and then they get pissed off when it doesn't work. If you spend that even 10 minutes to strategize, what's some customers I can go after, me knowing my market better than even the PPC people helping our competitors know the market and are going to be thinking about it, so I don't have to go head to head with them. And even if there's less customers in these areas where there's not a lot of heavy advertising already, it'll be better because the returns will be higher. And once I start getting a return, I can start to maybe hire somebody to go after the more high volume searches or the main searches in my space where it is more competitive. So if you just think before you act, in other words, your rate of success will go up by astronomically, like 50 times, compared to the average person if you do this, because people are not thinking, they're thinking it's going to be easy when they start. And then they generally fail several times before they get it to work because they underestimate, and then they finally realize what it really takes to be successful with Google Ads and make a profit after all your expenses, or they just give up and they're in the graveyard of 90% of the people who try it. So anyway, what is this hack where you're going to be able to go after some customers in your market that nobody else are going after to get you an abnormally high return? I got several examples of where I did this in various different markets to give you a real life example of how you do this for your own market. And so the first industry I already mentioned or talked about was the floral, they sell flowers and stuff for Valentine's Day or whatever, but you just buy cut flowers. Floral, which I just labeled the floral industry. Everybody knows that's in that industry that the top money that can be made, highest profit margin, highest ticket size, are people who want flowers for a wedding or a funeral and are lot less price sensitive. So why is it when everybody gets into doing PPC for the first time, it's just going to go after flowers, Chicago, blah, 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 or buy flowers, flower shops near me, whatever, when you could go right and beeline straight to the most profitable section of where customers could come from in your market? I know why. It's not hard to figure out. It's because they don't think there's a lot of people there, and it's going to be a little bit more difficult figuring out how you're going to speak to those people, given if somebody wants flowers for a funeral arrangement, yes, I have to have a custom page on my site probably for that. And basically what do I say versus if they're just looking for flowers in general or flower shop, that's easier to write an ad. So we're not talking about this that much more difficult to go after the most profitable chunk of our market there that are searching on Google at any given time. Why don't we do it? So basically, in other words, you find where your most profitable customers are and you find individual use cases. Get a sheet of paper. If you're a florist, write down all the different types of customers that buy flowers and why they buy them. Okay? If people, basically have anniversary is one of your use cases, right? If you have that down, why don't you experiment and see how many people in your market are searching for anniversary flowers, and have an ad that pops up for that, and have a dedicated page that pops up for people, and just go after those people. So anyway, when we did this in one particular client that was selling flowers through their website online, there was a 3x plus difference in ROI from the funeral and wedding category keywords versus like regular keywords like, buy flowers online, that kind of stuff. Why? Mostly it's because there's so much higher ticket size. You got to figure what's the lifetime value of a customer when they search for one keyword over another. You need to think about this when deciding what you're going to go after. But it's not all just that. You also obviously have less competition. There's a lot less people thinking this way, the less obvious way when they get started. So you'll write down all your use cases. And even if you don't think there's many people that buy, like if you have 1,000 customers a year and only 10 buy for this specific reason, you'd be surprised how much you could bring in if you have keywords that are just related to those small section of customers. And even with that, the returns are, 4, 5, 8, 10 times as high. It doesn't matter that there's less volume. I'm making 10 times as much, and I'm doing less to get it. And not only that, I can go after that one thing, and once I got that down, I know I can do the other use cases and build things up that way. So you get my point, though. So this is something that not many people are going to be doing in your market, and you could easily do to get around most of the competition. Another second example here. Guy sells paint products. We learn about different, there's different applications and use cases, like I said here, that you can try to, which we did set up ads for. If they're looking for this specific, paint for this specific use case, we'd have keywords, we have paint for people who are going to do the outside of their cars or whatever, because they're looking for outside of their car for that to use a paint or whatever, and then advertise there. Versus the paint actually is used in a lot of different applications. So instead of just saying the type, how they describe the paint, we're going after how people use the paint. But what are the properties of what makes it unique or different? In which people would, your unique service, unique value proposition, basically, that you should have if you're in business in the first place. Otherwise, what are you doing selling what you're selling in the first place? And then start to go after those keywords specifically. In this particular case with the paint product, it was fast drying paint. And it wasn't just that keyword, it was fast drying, whatever the type of paint it was, which I can't reveal here because I'm getting, revealing the exact thing that would work for that client that I still have. But fast drying, insert type of paint, and then paint. If a person's looking for that type of paint and they want it to dry fast because they only have so much time to let it dry, obviously, with no other, and you'll be able to see the return potential, because if you go ahead and search for that and you find out a similar situation for your product or service there, and you go to Google and you don't see any other ads that mention anything about that, you should go, yes, because now you've got something that'll probably get 5x difference in ROI from the rest of your keywords, because you're the only one who simply took the time to cater to that person and not just cater to everybody and speak to everybody and say one thing to everybody. You actually catered to individual people as they came in. That right there got a 4x ROI difference versus people that were looking for the paint straight out. So you would think already it would be profitable if they sell a specialized kind of paint and you showed up there saying that you offer that paint, it works pretty good. If they say, and they add fast drying to it and they're looking for that, given that's a feature of the product that they do well, one of several, then now you got a much higher return because nobody else is willing to do that, basically. What you're willing to do and the competition isn't willing to do for being lazy or just arrogant or slothful or whatever it is your profit opportunity. The same thing also could be done and was done on the quality side. People looking for certain words that they can indicate quality, like guarantee, warranty, stuff like that. That also was an opportunity in that particular company's space. And so just trying to give you some ideas here of how this can be applied to your market. Write down, go back to your sheet of paper or get another sheet of paper out. Write down all the things that make your product unique that you know from the past 3 years or so being in business. Talk to your salespeople, if not, that people, the why they like and ended up buying your exact product or service. What feature or trait did it have, and what do you market it as? That down to the very specific things, very specific, types. What makes it different in terms of using it, applying it, what results you get after, whatever. So that's one opportunity for you. Okay. Another use case was in the hair restoration space. So like, where you get surgery if you're balding and you can get hair grafts and to get hair again. There's a doctor who was able to, in that market, people will travel to get to the best doctor. There's a smaller pool of people who want the best. In every market, there's 10% who want the best, and then there's everybody else. So you can kind of decide, one way to go about doing things is, do I want to be the best, or do I want to just cater to the people who want a fair price? And pick one, because you'll probably end up making more if you pick one than not. But in this case, the guy was offering the hot shit, type of service there that had good reviews. Well, when somebody was searching for the highest rated doctor in that specific type of hair transplant technology that they do, that we had an ad that would show up that says highest rated and the specific type of hair transplant technology that they offered there that is kind of new. And you send them to a page, or we send them to a page that talks about not just, hey, this is what we do and blah, blah, that's it. It's we're the highest rated because of this reason, this reason, this reason, this reason. We got this third-party review, and we got this third-party review, and we got this award. And then that person who wanted that king shit option in your market, you've catered to them, and now you've gotten a big amount of profit opportunity. Which the great thing about this is once you find one of these little morsels of or nooks and crannies of your market to advertise in, it just works and works. And when you add it up over the next 5 years, you've made millions of dollars potentially just on one opportunity like this. So, but in this case, it was an 8x plus difference in ROI. People looking for the highest rated versus people looking for somebody who does that specific type of hair surgery that they specialize in that's kind of new in the market. So anyway, there's another one that you could do. Obviously, it goes the other way. If you, like I said, you should probably figure out who you are. Are you the cheap guy or reasonably priced guy that can, that's decent quality, but it's also at a cheap price? Or are you the expensive best one? If you're the cheap one, when people are looking for, there's all kinds of people looking for cheap keywords. Why not show up and say, you're looking for cheap? We are the cheapest. And you'll get a mountain of people who will beeline to your ad. And if you didn't know anything about Google already, Google has a quality score system, and the higher the click-through rate on your ad, the cheaper the cost per click gets, to the point where if you can triple the click-through rate on your ad because you've got the perfect ad for that specific type of searcher and audience there behind that type of search that they're making, well, you can pay upwards of a third of the same price cost per click. And then on top of that, you got to realize when they get you, if you're taking this all the way, like I'm telling you here, you should, and you take them to a specialized page that says why you can be the cheapest and why you're still decent quality. And so you're getting good quality, decent quality still, but at a really cheap price, and that is cheaper than all the rest of our competitors can give. You could see why that would have, you'll have a higher conversion rate there, upwards of 2 to 3 times what you would have had otherwise, sending them to the page for everybody else. And so when you combine 2 to 3x difference on your conversion rate and a 1/3 of the cost on your cost per click, now you can get upwards of 10 times more profit, just recognizing the type of things that people want that you can do well, and then really just hammering it with a custom ad that speaks to that exact person. Hey, you want cheap? We got cheap. Or, hey, you want the best? We got the best. and you send them to a page explaining and carrying on that conversation that you started with them in the ad. Okay? So with these last two, it's what do you do better or are unique at that where you are searching for ways to do what I mentioned, where you can have a certain keywords that you target thereof and then a custom ad and a custom landing page to take people to. Whereas the first one was, what are your, out of all your types of customers, what are the different types of customers that you have and why are they buying? And or, should have clarified a bit more, and or what are the most profitable? So it could be, part of what you're doing is just, there's certain types of customers, like in the floral space, the funerals has 3 times the margins as an everyday average customer. And so you're just going to go after them because the cost per click is roughly the same, yet the revenue opportunity there is 3 times as high. So naturally, why would you not want to pound that as much as it can be pounded first? Respectively, given that most people aren't going to be catering to funeral people, and if they do, they just have a simple page of here's funeral arrangements, instead of saying we offer the best funeral arrangements because we have a specialist who does dozens of these every month or whatever. If you go ahead and you add in that extra effort, you will get more conversion rates from that segment of the market that you want to get more sales from. And if you say that you could get more sales, I wish I could get more sales from this type of customer here that makes me 3 to 5 times more money, well, you should be getting out there and setting up an ad campaign on Google for Google search that just hones in on them specifically and speaks to them directly as much as you can to get most out of it you can before you really do anything else. Why would you? It makes logical sense to do that. People don't do it because it takes more work than just putting money into the Google machine and say, here, spend my money. I want customers. If it was that easy, everybody would be doing it already, which Google, it was that easy, 15 years ago, and then everybody started doing it. Now you have to do something else to stand out and actually be able to reach the top of the pile and make money. In this case, you could be average before basically and make money. Now you can't be average anymore. You can't just do what everybody else is doing and make a pile of money. You got to be in that top 20%. So anyway, it could be who are your top customers and then hone in on them to get the most you can out of them, or what are the individual use cases people are searching for what you're buying within what you're buying, like flowers for anniversaries, whatever, like I said. So anyway, some different opportunities. There's 4 actual distinct opportunities there, and you can explore each one. For me, I would be exploring each one, and I would be only doing those until I got every dollar of revenue out of it, and then go after the general keywords. In the auto parts space, we'll just one quick detour here in terms of case studies. I used to sell auto parts 15 years ago, and aftermarket auto parts. They were custom auto parts. And basically what we would do is every make and model and engine type and model, we would have the ad. So if they're looking for a Honda Civic, 1.3 liter, and they had an EX edition, they'll search for that and then the part that we sold. Well, why not too many people search for that specific make, but if you're the only one that has an ad for that says their car on it when they search for it, even if they weren't even searching for that exact product I'm offering here, and we just say, and the ad is just there, our likelihood that they'll convert so much higher, we might be able to get that to work. But respectively, there's only so much pie of people in our market looking for the type of product that we were offering. We offered more than one, but in that specific one product field, there's only so many profitable people there to get. So if you recognize they're searching in a specific way like there, where they look for that part, but they're looking to see if it's compatible and will work for a certain type of model of car, well, of course you're going to go ahead and set up unique ads for every model of car so you can speak to that person direct. And with that, you can make 5 times as much money. If you're in auto parts, that will still work today if you spend the time to go ahead and do that, versus if you're selling brakes and you just say, we sell, you're going after the brake keywords versus Honda Civic 1.3 double brake set. It's not even, there's no comparison, to the point where, since the big guys in a space that have, you know, a lot of times investor funds behind them, you're not going to get buy brakes online keyword to work. Your only opportunity is going to be going after Honda Civic 1.3 ES brake calibers, and just go after that at that angle or that way. So maybe regular PPC doesn't work for you, therefore, but this style will work for you, depending on how competitive your market is. What I just told you could be you have to only lean on that. Maybe this is just going to take you to the next level if you haven't done it already. The more creative your angle on what you're doing here, the more return that can be made. Specifically, so I gave you the nuts and bolts of how to find, audiences within audiences that are searching for what you have. Where the real creativity comes in is, how do I speak to the person so they really feel like, oh, warm and fuzzy inside. When you don't just say cheap, brake pads that we sell. Cheapest brake pad rated by, 3 top review, places or magazines. And then it's, how can we say so it's more believable and it hits you in the gut more if you read it, so that when I'm scanning what to click on Google, you always got to put yourself in the user's shoes. What am I going to click on? And if I was searching for cheap brake pads, or cheapest brake pads that I can get, and it says cheap brake pads, it's like, but cheapest brake pads and still rated most quality by 3 magazines. Obviously, I'm clicking on that one because it just seems so darn interesting. So try to get creative in terms of what you can deliver, in terms of telling the user a story about why the use case that they're searching for, why you do it so well. Because they're not going to know it unless you tell them. If you offer a fast drying paint and you sell that, a specialized paint product or paint in general, if you tell them why it's fast drying and why it's the best one in the market, they're going to be more interested. They're going to click on it at a higher rate. They're going to believe it more, and they're going to buy from it more. And so if you go ahead and go on and go the rest of the way and tell them why. A lot of people won't care why, but just because you have some fancy talk, they're going to buy more just because of that. It sounds more believable, if anything else. But a lot of people will appreciate it, and if they're searching for that exact thing, obviously they'd like, probably half of the time they would like some solid information why it's the fastest drying option there, and why you want that exact fast drying option versus other ones who claim to be fast drying. You can see how this would work. People just talk themselves out of it because it takes extra effort. And if you're selling a product or service and you want to do PPC, you should think of what a Google account, like building out and building up an asset, a long-term asset, to where you're not trying to get rich quick. You're going to solve people's problems one keyword at a time, or one group of keywords at a time. You're going to max out, and instead of spreading yourself thin, you're going to do one even set of keywords and one use case that you're solving there with your ads, nail it, and then go on to the next one. And then you're building up lots of campaigns. Each campaign goes after a different problem that you can solve with, ultimately with your ads. And that's where you're going to make the millions and millions and millions of dollars. And your competition won't be able to touch you because you've spent cumulatively, 3,000 hours setting up all these ads and having a nice page to send people to that would tell them why you offer the best product that actually is the best quality, the best reviewed in the market, whatever. And your competition sees that and they're going to be like, holy crap, there's no way I'm doing that. That's too hard. Or I need to get somebody to do it, and nobody's going to care enough to do it themselves. And it's going to be so expensive when they're told what it really costs to do that if they have to hire it out. And then they'll just say, oh, that sounds too much for me to handle right now. And then you'll be sitting pretty with the best. You'll have a model that it just churns and churns and churns out profit. Just think about what you're doing. Light at the end of the tunnel. 3 years from now, I'm going to have a campaign that generates $5 to $10 million a year in sales. It took me, quite a long time to put this together ad by ad, but now I got something, nobody's going to touch me. I'm going to get rich off this thing. That's how fortunes are built in PPC versus the people that are going to set up a few campaigns, try to let Google's algorithm figure it out on their own. If you're not in a space that already is, there's no competition and super high demand, that's not going to be your ticket to millions. Okay? Well, you know, most of the time, we'll just say none of the time, just if you want to make it, you know, make yourself feel better about going ahead and do the proper work and to make yourself a millionaire with these ads, running Google search ads and Bing ads. Anyway, with all that said, I have a ton of other PPC money-making strategy videos on this channel. If you haven't seen any of my other videos, you should go ahead and definitely check them out. I have a blog at guaranteedppc.com/blog with step-by-step instructions on how to build campaigns the way that I build them to guarantee results for our clients. If you like information along those along those lines, you can find it there. With that said, if you have any questions about anything I covered here, and it may be something you can't figure out about your own particular use case, leave me a comment down below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a question or comment on this channel. And with that said, I'll wrap it up with that. And I hope to see you on my next video that comes out in another day or two.